Right. Thanks for hopping on backend pairing. And Lee's got something that's uh in between backend and front end. So I guess it counts.
Yeah, we're going to figure out where it sits. So I'm going to try and share
And yeah,
hopefully the right screen.
Hamel is I thought it was your child. That's the Hamel is the one that both backend and front end keep pushing back and forth to each other.
I don't
Exactly.
like Hamel, but I think I like it better than CSS. So
Yeah.
So what I don't remember, sorry, I'm not great at multitasking. What would it be? Lee ticket GitLab / GitLab, right? So yeah, so it looks like I haven't got a personal fork of the GitLab project, which is good, I think. So if I try and launch the web ID, I am a member of the project, so that is
Uh,
no good.
you'll have to try on
So
like a and I have a account.
no, it's all right. I've got yeah. Here's one I prepared earlier. Um,
Do you want to pause recording or do you feel good? Do you feel optimistic? No,
I
secret.
feel I feel comfortable.
Okay.
Um,
All right.
right, so let's check this one out. So has this one got? Oh God, I don't even know what my username / GitLab. Right, so this one hasn't got a fork of the project. So great.
I love your username backwards. Like that would take me a minute
I
to type
Yeah, I
Paul.
saw. I can't remember who to give credit to, but I saw that a while ago. Someone's alter ego they had done backwards, and they also their profile picture was them upside down, which really made me laugh. So I went with that. Right, try again. So if I launch the web IDE, there you go. So it
Yep.
says I can't edit files in the project. Do you want to fork it? So it's assuming that if you've got a fork, it's in your own namespace. Well, I might hit fork in a minute and just see what then happens to remind us. But what I think I probably have got access to is if we change this to GitLab community and launch the web IDE here, I have got access to that. So my initial suggestion, which I'm really glad we've got some really out of the box and yeah, everyone thinks in different ways, because my initial thinking was that we have a new setting at project level where we can kind of set almost like a default fork to kind of say, we want everyone to use this fork. But then, a couple of people bouncing around ideas, they kind of suggested, well, what if we just presented a list of forks that you have access to? So when we click on, so that's on the fork. So yeah, when we click on here, if you've got access to any forks, then I mean, maybe we could argue if you've only got access to one fork, it just goes straight in. Which
Uh,
let's hit fork because I want to see what happens. But yeah, so yeah, what does that immediately? Does it scare anyone? Does it sound like the common sense approach? Any other ideas?
I think it's a really good. It's a problem we haven't solved yet of um access to forks because I think we're probably just looking for because being a little familiar with these backend methods, clearly this seems to be looking at just the personal namespace, but
I imagine so.
other places we look for it, I thought we would check it if you forked it for an organization, but like you have to own it. So the big thing I think is unsolved here is no, I don't own these other forks. I just have access. I have push access to the other fork. And that's something we're not checking at all, which would be very interesting too. And especially from the like, when do we do this database call? Because right now we optimistically get that fork path information on page load. And so I don't think we're going to want to open up any kind of vector where we're traversing through all of the forks someone might have write access to from the database perspective. So I don't know. That's a really,
Yeah, I mean,
really interesting problem.
yeah, it is. It's interesting to think how we might yeah, what's the most optimized? Steve, for some reason, I have this inkling that you're a database whiz or maintainer or whatever. So maybe a good point for you to kind of project how might be the most optimistic way to get that data without enumerating obscene amounts of
Yeah,
records.
I think it's tricky. Yeah, as soon as you start talking like permissions across like an instance or a massive amount of groups or projects, then yeah, we run into the database problems.
Although saying that, I mean, even the GitLab project, how many forks are there? Like 1,000, 10,000? It's not hundreds of thousands, is it?
I mean, I would think the right approach would be start from the user level and see which forks they I don't know which forks they have access to. Is yeah, like you said, the owner, like it's easy to check which ones they own, but then there's the question of which ones do they have access to that maybe they don't own. um and
Yeah.
I'm not totally sure how forks are like set up in terms of the database structure, so
So,
can't say
yeah,
Yeah, I
how
don't know,
difficult
but like
that is.
what would be called, like how would you go through that data?
well, that's what I'm thinking. Like, so I suspect it'd be easy to pull the list of forks of all the forks of the repo. But it's then when it comes to permissions, remembering how our permissions, you can either have permissions at the project level or the group level, and that can be nested groups, inherited groups. So there's all sorts of those complexities. But do we have a really simple, I'm sure we expose a simple method at project level, but if we were to call that, would it optimize the query or would it enumerate the query sort of thing?
Yeah, I'm
So
pretty
I
sure there's a project level method that would work. Like, I mean, I'm seeing here GitLab 7,800 forks. Like, that's not that many.
Yeah,
So even if it is like, yeah, we don't want to iterate over that, but I believe that the method that exists in the project model will modify the query itself rather than first pulling all the forks and then checking
brilliant,
each one.
awesome.
I'm
Um,
fairly certain
I
that exists.
I've just shared one browser window because I've got a lot of stuff open and I don't feel
That's fine.
entirely comfortable sharing my entire screen. Would anyone like to drive and have a bit of a poke and see if we
so
can at least?
Steve, um, I mean, sorry, Lee. The I know one of the things you worked on recently. I joined late, so I don't know exactly what you're looking for, but the linear namespace queries that sort of do the right and left edge thing to find a tree. I don't know if that's applicable to this problem, but are you aware of those?
I'm vaguely aware, yes, but I don't know if that kind of really ties in with permissions, if that makes sense. I think the first step probably would be to see what method we think exists on a project level to say, has this user got right access to the project? And if we combine that with the method or query or whatever you want to call it to get the list of forks for a canonical project, does that generate some nice SQL essentially?
Yeah.
And I think we could do that probably just from the Rouse console. I mean, if we wanted to get fancy, we could write a spec and we could kind of use that as a starting point. But I think we could probably start with a Rouse console and, you know, it'd be something like project.find.forks
Yeah.
dot map or filter or .where or .select or something like that, and then the method on the project and see what it does.
That's a good idea. Can I ask, can we get back to that from the user facing perspective? I have a couple of questions for you. If you can share the browser tab again.
Yes.
I'd like to get everyone's thoughts on, I'd like to see one page and I'd like to get others' thoughts on how we see this being implemented. But can you click on the number next to the forks, the
I
7,800?
just noticed, sorry to interrupt you there, Paul, but I just noticed that the wordage on this button has now changed because it's detected that I've got a personal one. So sorry, you wanted me to click on numbers, this one here?
Yeah. If you can click on that one. Okay. So this is all of the forks.
Yes, I guess all
Oh.
of the public forks or ones that I've got access to.
No, I don't think it's all the ones you have. Well, it's all the ones you can read. That's the thing too. It's
Yes,
not
sorry, yes, all the ones I can read. Yeah.
right. And so from this perspective, we really want to know the ones you can write to.
Yep.
And there's no, that's why I was wondering, is like, is there any filtering here that we could just maybe link them to this? And then that would be brilliant. But it looks like there's not any anything we can filter here to get just the ones you
What
can.
is in the search tab? If you click in the search tab, does it give you any smart search, or is it just a name search?
It looks like it's
Just name, I think. It looks like Terry shared with us a method. Whilst I can't share my whole screen, I can. I've got. I can share the right.
There's scopes in the project that might somewhat do what you want, but I also don't know whether those are great solutions or not, because it looks like it grabs all of the authorized projects for a user. Maybe that's
just
not
having a
great.
look. Oh, it looks like there are some forks of flight. So if I was to do
Public and visible to user.
p equals project dot find 6 p dot forks. Too easy. Too easy. And then
is there a is it
Oh yeah.
does projects have a like has member?
so let's just see what
Um,
Terry shared in the chat. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like Steve shared something
Oh.
too.
Yeah, I realized that's probably going to give you the list that you saw in UI.
Read
I don't know.
access,
Yeah,
yeah.
the read access.
So let's have a
Thinking about
look.
that.
So models project.
But you can specify the min access level in that method.
Yeah.
So
Oh, really?
if we just
Oh,
set it
nice.
as like like reporter is the minimum to write, is that right?
Yeah.
Or no,
I think it'd
something
be
like that.
20 would it? Or no, probably 30. 30 developer? I can't remember now.
I know the
there's
names and I don't
Good
remember what the names
question.
do.
there's constants for it somewhere. If you do project search for like 20, then you'll see the name of it somewhere. I'm joking. I don't know.
No, it's not the craziest thing you've
You'd have to separate, you'd have to do it like 20, and I normally, if I'm doing a regex search,
There you go.
you found
that
it?
was
It's in
pub
visibility level. It's
Oh, yeah, that's it.
no.
Or these are the
Oh, those are that one. So
Visibility
that's
level.
the
not quite the same
visibility.
thing, is it? Access level.
oh, that's got to be it. You got some weird LDAP thing. Nobody knows what LDAP is. You gotta
Developer.
develop.
GitLab access to developer.
Yeah.
Yes, 30. 30. Right. So we're going to say p dot public or visible to user. User find one in access level. So using root is probably a terrible idea, but let's just see if it explodes first of all.
Oh, I don't know if that is that a class method or no?
Yeah, that's a class method. So
Yeah.
you should be able to just string it right on.
I think yeah, I don't think you need the dot select.
Gotcha, thank you.
But you're not going to be able to get the forks from it. Like we need the intersection of forks and this.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What is forks?
You sure I can't put them together? Yeah, I can put them together.
Yeah.
So
Forks is just a relation.
yeah. So now I just need to quickly find a user and give them access to like one of the forks.
So root. So you're saying root. Can we test this out by like removing root as a member or something from one of these projects?
Because they're a super admin, I think it'd be easier for me to find just find a user and give them access to one of the forks.
Can we find then maybe the owner of project 16? We can do that just straight from here.
Yeah, I don't see why not. So p dot
I think we could just
owner
take
or
project or What
That's odd.
owner is the group? What is that?
Oh,
What?
yeah, owner is a group. I don't think there's,
Really?
yeah, permission is a different type of association. Owner is the hierarchy. I think.
I'm just doing it from the UI quickly. I might even just give a user access to one of the
Okay.
the only thing is the forks are personal, but that don't think that matters. I mean, to be honest, if this chaining these two commands works together, that's
Yeah, that's really nice.
that's a result straight away, and I think we can use that and take that to the front end pairing to then work on the front end.
Yeah. So I almost wonder if like, do we want to expose this in like a GraphQL endpoint?
Probably something like
Pretty
that.
cool. Like, gosh, I'm so lame. Project forks you can write to. Like, is that the name of the field? I guess so.
Reported lead so I'm going to give lead ticket access.
Or I guess what we could do is in the forks field, maybe we can add a variable to it, which is this min access level.
Access level. Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Where have I gone? Oh, I've killed my Rails console. That was silly.
forgot.
You're only sharing your VS Code screen, so I'm assuming you already did some of the manipulation on the.
So I have added a user lead ticket to. I've given them access to a fork, and I'm hoping that now if we use user 53. Because I haven't defined P. Okay. So
Can you go back? Can you go back to that one you just ran? Can you go up? User visible to user. Okay, so that user is only a member of one of them.
yeah, let me check that user isn't like a super admin or anything.
So I would. I'm surprised that super admins are like considered. I guess this authorizations for projects makes sense. Maybe I don't know. I'm surprised super admins are like considered. That's not how I would expect this method to behave, but I guess it's helpful depending on how you're looking at it.
I don't think they are an admin. Groups and projects. Yeah, the only project they've got access to is the Andrea Crooks fork, which is Ronnie
It's so funny seeing a
Cozy.
cursor move around, which isn't.
So
yeah,
it should only have access to this one, I think. Public or I think it's because it's public.
look at this on line 756. Look at this.
Oh yeah.
It's an or.
Yeah. Yeah. It's public or visible.
So should we
at that
see if
level.
there's just a visible to user? Oh no, that doesn't seem right though, does it? Min access.
Yeah, I think there is. I think that's what Terry had added. I think there's a scope.
So we try.
Can we make
User
it
and access level.
Can we change 756 to and see if that behaves like we're expecting?
Wait a second. Are we listening? Does the one that Terry pasted
That's what
Is
I'm
that a-
trying.
visible user and access level? Yeah.
Visible to user. Oh.
Oh, visible to user and access level is its
There
own
should
thing?
be a scope somewhere up at the top.
Awesome.
Oh, where user authorized.
Oh, we'll have a question mark on it. It's a scope.
I think I read Terry's question mark
Oh, I
So,
put a question
no,
mark there
that
because I
was
said, "Is
totally
this what you're
mine.
looking for?"
Well, Terry, you can give yourself a gold star, I think, and
Yeah,
clock
I
off
want to
early.
see, but I want to like I would be interested to see what the sequel, like what the explain plan looks like for someone that might have a lot of authorized projects.
Well, here it is though, right?
Yeah,
The
that's it. Yeah, so
load the user.
well, that's not the plan, I suppose. That's just the
Yeah.
SQL. But
Yeah.
so
The project load is, I think,
so
is
that's the
Always looks
user
good in
load, right?
GDK.
So
right.
if I did u equals user dot find 53 and then change that to u, that should already be much nicer, right?
Where project authorizations dot user ID equals that, and the access level is greater than or equal to 30. Cool. It's doing, yeah.
That looks reasonably optimal from first glance.
Yeah, that looks like SQL. Just being silly.
So projects in adjoined to Fort network members.
Yeah, it's not doing any kind of like cursor like loop. It's not doing any kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of subqueries, but I think generally speaking, we use them all over the place, and sometimes they're fine, and this probably is one of those. So, yeah, awesome.
So I guess I'm curious. So the original idea is that we want that community fork to show up for people. Would that show up? Because like you have to be a developer
It
to
would
see things on
require
this
them.
list.
Yeah, it would require them to have access. So we've got several things to do, if that makes sense.
Okay.
We have got to promote. So, I say we've got a plan a bit in our heads, but one of the things that we'll definitely do is make the bot, anytime anyone raises a merge request that isn't from the community fork, we'll get the bot to prompt them and sort of say, did you know about the community fork, and give them a link and a bit of info. And so, the messaging, all our documentation, our contribution guides, etc., will all slowly get updated. Yeah, maybe in the future there will be this kind of concept of a recommended or favorite or whatever you want to call it. So somehow when you kind of click the fork button, it actually says, rather than do you want to create your own fork, do you want to request access to this fork or something like that. But I guess that's somewhat further down the road, and I'll need to work quite hard to sell that use case to the source code group.
I like your idea of the bot that's, hey, we got something not come from the community fork. Let's that sounds like a really great approach.
What pattern is this?
He said, don't interrupt, little girl. You'll have to figure it out. Figure it out.
Awesome.
Yeah, this looks great.
Yeah,
kind of what you're describing though.
So like you say, go on.
Well, are you familiar at all with like how the Unreal Engine works with the community? Have you ever?
No.
That? Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think even to download the Unreal Engine, and this might have changed, but you had to be a member of their GitHub project. And
right.
So they have so what's interesting is they've somehow created a process around a GitHub project that has members from all over. And I like this idea of this community fork that you're talking about, because it reminds me a lot of that, and somehow that worked for Unreal. And so people making contributions, somehow this is working for them. And I think that sounds like a huge win to solve a lot of the pains that that I think community members experience. Like, because this would also solve their CI minutes issues too.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep. I'll bore you with the where are we? Share Chrome. The sort of really nice one that that we won't sort of explore too much until a bit further down the line, but it's a collaboration sort of aspect of it as well. And we really want to start getting community members working with each other and with team members as well. And it's very hard to do that at the moment. Only maintainers of the GitLab project can push commits to public community forks, and community members working together would need to grant each other access to each other's personal forks, and it's all a bit clunky. But these are our kind of some of our primary whys we started this in the first place. And yeah, the kind of lots of, I don't know what you call it, like not walls, but little pain points that would hopefully really help the flow.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So
but yeah, I think moving
then
that
the next
into
thing to do would be to see if we can get a GraphQL endpoint for this, then this is all just run it from there.
Yeah.
Can we maybe open up the GraphQL Explorer and see what's kind of close, and maybe we can spin up the GraphQL
yeah,
endpoint?
let's. So we kind of want to see if project exposes like forks or something. Although saying that, if I'm totally honest, I don't know how close we even need to, because we know we've really easily come up with the Ruby, let's say, the Ruby code we need. So to, as you either update the forks method or create a new method that kind of combines the forks and the access level in the model, or a scope or whatever we want to call it, quite straightforward. And then exposing that against the project type, I would say, is probably just all we really want to do.
Yeah, I think it's really straightforward.
Famous last words, right?
Yeah, I've quoted those words a lot. I'm the optimist guy that's like, oh yeah, we can get this done in a week.
Why am I being remedial?
I think it's the Explorer that's just gonna have. If you probably want to just traverse to it, if you go to query and then project, you'll get to it. Yeah. If you do, then I do a Command F on, or yeah, that works too. Okay, cool. Project type. So do we have forks already here? That's my big question. Fork details. What's fork details? Wrath of the fork. That's interesting. Yeah, so
Can I ask a question? Because I don't use this GraphQL Explorer very often.
Yeah, far away.
Why does it say deprecated and then under that it says the features in alpha?
Great question. I think that's just because it doesn't make sense, though, does it? But I don't think that's our implementation. I think
The
that's
Explorer, and that's okay.
well, yeah, GraphQL Ruby's sort of out of the box. But essentially it's just a warning to tell people not to use it, or not, at least not use it in production, because we could break it at any point.
Okay. Thanks for explaining that. I don't do GraphQL that often, so.
For my sins, I seem to live in GraphQL at the moment. Now, I'm happy to start hacking at this, or we're only halfway through. So, what I was going to say, if anyone's got anything else interesting they want to cover, we've got half the session left. So I'm happy I can take this away. And
here's this looks like the relevant. You ask a good question. I think I found the relevant code for you, Terry. Is in this file GraphQL deprecations. I can open it since we're also.
I was just wondering, like, that's weird. Why does it say deprecated, but also it's an alpha? Like those two things don't.
Yeah, there's not a concept of alpha in this, so like we use deprecations to indicate that it's alpha.
It's like the opposite of deprecated. Like deprecated means it's so old, don't use it. Alpha is it's so new, don't use it.
Yeah.
But at least it drew my attention. So it's the purpose of the highlighting, it worked.
Yeah,
and like the call to action worked.
Yeah,
I noticed it.
But it is funny though. Like
Yeah.
It's an alpha and it's deprecated, but we're still working on it.
I like the line self-deprecation on 33. Code is like, I'm not really that good at code. There's other code much better than me.
That's so funny. Come on, you could be nice to my friend deprecated. All right.
I'm gonna jump off, y'all. I just
Cool. Thanks for
I know
hopping.
it's been a sick day, but since you took the trouble to move this meeting, Paul, I wanted to at least show up to it. Thanks. Bye.
Appreciate it. Yeah. See you. I think doing the
Catch you
GraphQL
later.
thing is great, but if someone else has something,
Yeah.
let's do it. But I don't mind driving the GraphQL.
Yeah, I'm fine with GraphQL. The only other thing I'm working on is specs, and nobody likes writing those but me. So
Yeah, I don't have anything in particular to jump into. I
Cool.
did run that query on Postgres AI.
Oh, thanks.
It'll have some attention needed.
yeah, instead of saying run it with like
I ran it
Stan's
with my user
ID
against
and
the
like
GitLab project.
the GitLab project. That's only I was concerned about because the scope is like I don't know. I was a little
So, Lee, here, since we are introducing an API, let's make it API-rific and not, and it doesn't have to, I don't think we have to do the alpha thing. Let's, instead of, Lee, I don't think we have to make this an alpha. I don't know if that's part of our process.
I'll put it there just in case, easily removed, but it's just in case as soon as we don't do something as alpha, then I can't make any changes to it without waiting for 18 releases. So I think it's good.
Yeah.
When we introduce new things to GraphQL, it's quite good practice to keep it as alpha just for a short period of time.
That's fine. But I would say let's not just call this writable forks.
Yep.
Let's what's the word I'm thinking? Let's let it be a little bit symmetric with the function, with the method that we're using in the project model. So whatever that's called was called
visible forks.
Visible forks is pretty good, but let's let it take an argument of the access level. And so like I think
so you want me to actually have a resolver rather than just a
no, you can
field.
actually do this here. You can actually make a method here. It doesn't have to be a resolver. You can do it in here and have a method
awesome.
in the type, and it'll take care of it. So I like visible forks with an argument, and the argument's gonna have to be required.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much I like. It's tricky because with the argument, I suppose it's all right, but to me, the inclination or indication of visible forks is that it's giving you all visible forks.
Right.
But I suppose with a parameter, with an argument, it's okay. Have we got another one that I can look at that takes an argument?
Well, couldn't the access level just be like nil by default or something? So it's like
I guess so,
an optional argument.
Yeah, we could have an optional argument with some sort of default value. Sounds good too. And that's probably the most stable of the interface. But let's go to if we go back to the GraphQL Explorer, we'll see a field that takes an argument, and then we can find it here and copy one.
Yeah, but we're going to find tons. Most of them will use resolvers though. So I'm thinking, how do we find a field that takes an argument?
I've done this enough times. I'm gonna find one for you.
Awesome.
For you.
I've always used resolvers, so that's quite nice to know that there's a
yeah,
I didn't know that either.
Guessing it'll be something like so if I look for star type.rb and look for argument. Oh, here we go. Oh no, that's not what we want.
I guess you'd be looking in the types folder, right?
Yeah, I think all these are types, but
well, yeah, that doesn't work either.
If you go to the query type, takes arguments for the project. So that would be the query type has a field for project.
No, but it's the resolver that takes care of it, isn't it?
All right, I know I've done this before. Sorry, and I hope I'm not leading us astray. I'm pretty sure I've done this before. So I'm going to the library docs now.
Sounds good. Well, I found out that you can have authorizations on field level as well recently, so that's quite nice.
Yes. Here you go. All right, here's some documentation for you. So it looks like it'd be called like argument.
That's what I've been searching. Yeah, it must be right in front of me here.
You're only seeing it in resolvers.
I think there was some in that query type, just on some other fields.
There's a lot in types, but
Yeah, here's one. Yeah, you're right. The container repository has one.
Sounds like one I might have added.
Yes, this is a great example. Yeah, if we go to the query type on line 22, this is a good example. Container repository is a field.
Beautiful.
But you see, there's no resolver. So if you search
Yep.
the type for the method container repository, that's the like shortcut resolver thing. So search if you search this folder, I mean, not the folder, the file, just this file for container repository, you see this file has a method container repository.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Perfect.
But that's kind of the thing we'd want to do.
Exactly. Yeah. No, love it. So, okay. So we've got visible forks.
And then I think there was like a do in there.
Yeah, it was in a block.
Oh yeah, so there was.
Yeah.
A do. Oh, yeah, I see.
The spacing on that is just odd.
Have
Yeah,
you seen that we've
since-
just changed it? So we now need to do it like this.
Really?
Yep.
I think so, yeah. Mhm.
Rubocop is gonna
Yeah.
go mental at me when I try and push this.
But we're probably ignoring the whole file though, right? Because this whole file is off.
You should fix the whole file.
I will need to fix
Remove
the whole
it
file.
from the
Yeah, I'll need to fix the whole file.
yes, remove it from the thing.
Oh no.
But yeah, you're right. All the spacing will have to be fixed.
But fortunately, Rubocop fixes it for me, so I'm
Yeah.
happy
There's
about that.
nothing better than arguing about spacing in files.
I love that. We need to just keep the description for this. Forks.
No,
This is
I think it's supposed to be like the forks of the project or something. There's like definitely a documentation page about what that when I do reviews for GraphQL, at least that's one of the things I'll like, okay, this I can look at.
Yeah.
So the argument's going to be minimum access.
Yeah, I would try to keep as much symmetry with the model method as possible.
Which we hopefully still have open, visible to user and
Maybe we just call
level.
this. Maybe we call it access level. Min access level is min access level. Yeah, it's probably better to throw that in there. But
yeah, I think so. Now I always get confused with GraphQL types. So is it types in? Is it that simple? Yeah, it looks like it.
I'll
say
look
it's
see
not
what other
required.
places we're using access level and see what we've used.
That would be clever though, right?
There is an enum for this.
Yeah.
So
Nice. So
I
we
think
could
it's gonna
use
be. Yes, it's gonna be this one. Let me
Is it the GitLab access or something?
GraphQL types access level enum is the module for it.
types access level enum.
So if you just go to : access level enum, that's it. Yep.
Beautiful.
Oh, this is gonna be so helpful. I'm excited about this. And then we'll be able to make something really fancy in the front end where it's like, here's a list of all the projects using our like project displaying stuff. Like it's gonna be really cool.
And while we're sort of on the web IDE niche topic. Thanks for fixing that that bug with the merge requests as well so quickly.
Yeah, I need to cut a release of the web ID package so that I can show up on.
Oh, so we can actually test that it's doing
Yeah.
as expected. Awesome. Right, visible to minimum access level. So now we need to create that as a method.
Yeah. I mean, this is already getting, you know, I guess with a thing like project though, it's bound to get a little large. Does the base model accept a nil for this thing?
Great question. Well, because I've made the argument optional, not required, then we should be good to go. Oh, you mean does this accept nil, do you mean? Or
I meant, do we need
The
to
scope.
set the default value here, or do we need to, or is it automatically being set on the model? That was my question.
I see what you're saying.
And we actually need to we probably need to document the default value too. So I think that shows up somewhere in the.
I think we got to pass 0 in there, right?
Okay. Okay.
Do we need to be whatever the word is? Protective?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
You shouldn't need to be, because stringing those two together, that's still going to generate one query. So if forks
And this
doesn't,
wouldn't be null, right? This
yeah,
would be an empty array essentially.
yeah, and it's not operating on like the array. It's like an active record relation. So it's
Yeah. Okay. So okay. This I feel like we're getting crazy now. There's you know when you think see, there's no way it was going to work already.
That's gonna be great. Now we're ready to do the GraphQL Explorer here.
Yeah, absolutely. I've seen recently, Terry, did you even, I think you might have commented, I can't remember now, that this
Maybe.
gets really, really angry if there's just the simplest of mistakes in your GraphQL.
No, I don't use this Explorer too often.
No, sorry, it was Charlie that
Yeah.
Charlie picked up on it.
I was going to say, I get really angry when there's the smallest mistakes because it takes forever to figure out what to do.
The project group or namespace.
So it's just full paths is going to be, you'll have to do full path, and it'll be the GitLab org/GitLab or whatever you're using, flight.js/flight. If you're feeling
That's really confusing. That right. So
that is confusing. I wouldn't expect the full path to be the ID. I think that's legacy stuff.
I'm just going to see if that's so I've got that right.
Yeah. Visible forks.
So let's start with that. Nodes. So I guess
You're missing a curly
Yeah.
brace after full path.
thank you. Woohoo!
Yes.
Oh boy.
Tried visible fork.
Close.
Did not exist.
Right, so it's not setting a default
It's
or not
finding
even
the it's not finding the method which the special method gave it.
So I'm just going
So it's trying to call visible forks directly on project.
It
we want
is,
it
but
to
only
call...
after it does try project type first, I think, or the other way around.
Can you
Yeah, so it tries this as well. Let me
you-
just check. You know what I've done? I know that should work, shouldn't it? It's private, but that should still work. I'm going to get rid of the parameter for a minute just to see if that fixes it.
if you can go back to the code, that'd be helpful.
Yeah, I don't. Can I share? I can't share multiple. That's the thing. I'm keep jumping backwards and forwards. Right, visible for tried project type visible force, but did not exist. I want to try moving it to public because I don't see why when it does. But I don't think it should have to be a public method. Oh, maybe it does. There you go. You learn something new every day.
Private? I see. Okay.
So I'm going to try changing. I'm going to re-add the parameter. I'm quite surprised that it didn't.
Wouldn't we have expected to see one there?
Well, I would have expected, because I'm logged in as root, I'd expect to see
A whole bunch.
Yeah, I would.
I think what might be happening, can you go back to, I know you're not sharing your whole screen. If you can go back to the code.
Yeah, I can. Interestingly, I'm running it from the Rails console and it's not returning either, anything either. So what I'm just going to quickly do, I'm just going to impersonate the user and see if it works for that user, and then we can do a bit more digging in the code in a minute.
The Rails
This
console was
one?
also returning empty.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. We leave anything around while we were playing around with stuff?
I don't think so. Yeah, there you go. So it returns fine when we're logged in. So maybe it's looking for direct membership.
You don't have
So what I might try doing, I'm going to fork this into a public name and give if this visible thing isn't clever, actually as clever as we think. So like,
Yeah, see now that the visible that scope is using user.authorized projects, which authorized projects might be direct access.
that would suck, but
Maybe.
so let's.
Yeah, since we're querying in the database, we're querying where project authorizations is in certain
Exist.
numbers. So we're looking for a specific record to exist. Whereas if it's an implicit membership, the record like doesn't exist, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know how that would work.
So let's just let that fork quickly. JH.
There's got to be a scope that gets what you want or
Yeah,
a way
I
to
think,
write
I
it.
think there
Yeah.
must be as well.
Because we do this with so many things.
Yeah,
Once
I
we
will
have the
just find a
subset of
page that
forks.
gives you what you want and then go in the code and see where that page is doing.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Now I'm even more confused. Oh, because I'm logged in as root. Okay, yeah. Talking in progress. So JH. Right, so that's done. So I need to go back to the impersonation again.
I always forget about impersonation. It's such a handy tool.
It's,
For,
yeah,
for
like
local especially.
absolutely. Absolutely. I would really struggle to validate a lot of the stuff that I'm working on without. Oh no, that's
Just end up with like 10 different what's it called tabs that are
okay, like
different sessions.
incognitos, and now that
Yeah.
seems to have worked where we're a member of. So we're a member of the group, not the project directly. So that seems to have worked for that. But I wonder if it's just not handling the adminness, whatever you want to call it. Like it's specifically, like you say, it's looking for membership, it's looking at the group and project level, but because the administrator or root user isn't a direct, they're not a direct member, they're not a member full stop. The only reason root's got access is because they're an admin.
That makes sense though. And I think that's the behavior we want. So
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'm reasonably happy with that as a sort of first. Yeah.
so maybe
Should I
we
go?
want to call it though member forks or something like that.
I'm just going to go back to the code because that's probably now what you want to criticize a little and say what, because I'm guessing like this should probably be moved. I don't know. Will it? Or should it? I don't know. Would you move this to the model or not really?
No,
Yeah, I think you
No.
can leave that here.
I would leave it
Cool.
here. The
It's very
pretty sure these
specific to what we're
things
doing
need to
here.
have named arguments. I think.
So you know what I didn't do? Yeah. I didn't actually try passing in the access
Yeah.
level.
That would be the next thing to test. But then it's pretty good to go. Take it out. It's good to go.
It's an enum, isn't it? So I know. Sorry, I know you can't see. So developer.
I think the enum, whatever those names are, I don't know.
I thought I just found an example here of the argument in the same file just below, but
That's ours.
I almost think like even behavior wise, if you let the admin kind of work the way that it would work for a regular user, that feature wouldn't work for an admin. Like it will bring back. I feel like it might bring back too many forks.
Yeah, that's a good point too. Of like,
yeah, you wouldn't want it to bring back everything. That's
yeah. I think that like maybe that's a nice protective measure because I think there was something about like when you bring back personal projects or the admin, you kind of there's like something in like protective in there to make sure they're not getting non-personal projects. I don't remember. I kind of remember something about that.
yeah,
At least maybe in search, there was something that we did where we had to add something special for admin so it didn't break.
just having some technical difficulties.
That is like the story of my life today. So I feel you.
So I tried 20 and
That's-
it said it
well,
needs to be an access level, which is great, one of the enums. So then I used the autocomplete, which gave me that. But now it's saying can't quote array. So what's it trying to do?
It's hard without seeing the
maybe
code.
we don't get, maybe min access level isn't actually integer when it's getting passed through then. And so it's trying to use it. This is an active record issue, like maybe in serializing it.
So I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll flip it back to an int for a minute.
That's a good idea.
Yes. So I think I've probably got to convert it then back from there, or call like dot value or something like that. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, I'll see where we're using that type and
Oh. I really shouldn't curse it, but GDK has been really well behaved recently.
Uh-oh, you jinxed it.
Oh no.
same problem. That's weird. Could it be you said about using named? Let me just try changing it.
So
to
even
a
when
name.
you're just using ints, it was still.
Yeah. Okay, right. So let me show you back to the code. I changed it to be I get confused between I had that. I changed it to that and that fixed it. So I'm now going to go back to try changing it and making this where did it go? Types. What was it? Access level?
Access level enum.
Enum. And then expect that to explode, or maybe not. Let's have a look what enum. No, so the value should actually be the
right.
int.
Yeah, I think I think it's what we want to do. Let's try it out.
So
rubbing his hands.
yeah.
Oh, and developers, or reporters. Oh yeah, sweet,
Don't you love it when a plan comes together?
nice. So this user is a developer in the GitLab JH group here.
They are, yes.
Okay.
Directly on this project and on this group. So
It'd be really interesting to change that, like just for fun, to change that to a reporter on the group and a developer on the project, and seeing how that plays out. But it should work out nicely.
let's go.
Well, you'll
So I
have
need
to
to
probably stop impersonating and all that stuff. But
go-
great.
Yeah, no.
This is a nice backend win. So then it's just a front end problem, and we can save this for Friday if you want to, Lee.
Yeah, I mean that'd be awesome. Yeah, I realize we have the fun and games that realistically I'm not going to get this in, am I? Unless I ask you kind folk to review it, in which case, because if we can get it in for 15.9, we can work on the front end in 15.10. But if we don't get it in before Friday, then we realistically should wait until 15.11 to work on the front end, or to merge the front end.
Yeah. Or it can all be
So
behind a feature flag that we don't enable yet, right?
true.
But
Yeah, that's an option.
that's an option.
But you know, let's pile some pressure on. Anyway, really appreciate your time as always. Have a great
Thanks so
day,
much, everybody.
evening, whatever,
Thanks,
and
Steve.
catch you later.
Thanks, Steve.
Cheers.
Yeah.
Bye bye.
Thanks,
everyone.